go ahead, poor company, try it. You only have $300 in your bank account. All talk. I'm going to withdraw $15 million. When I said this at a major bank, they looked down on me as a poor company. The bank clerk who dealt with me this time had harassed me in the past as well. Unable to bear it any longer, I decided to push her into hell with all my might. My name is Michelle Anderson. I am 45 years old this year. Among my peers, many are struggling with the care of their aging parents, or dealing with their parents' deaths, experiencing changes in their family relationships. However, I lost my parents when I was 3, so my memories of them are vague. I recognize their faces from photographs, and they seem like kind people. About a year after I entered the children's home, a staff member told me, "Your parents were company employees and worked very respectably. They used to take you to the zoo on their days off." But still, my memories of my parents did not return. Instead, most of my childhood memories are of the children's home. After entering the home, I was lonely being alone. I loved animals and would often trouble the staff by saying, "I want to keep a dog." However, pets were prohibited in the home. So, the staff gave me a stuffed dog that had been sleeping in the storage. It seemed that no one else wanted it, but I took to it immediately. I remember always carrying it around with me. Once I started elementary school, I would leave it in my room. But it remained a treasured possession. In the 5th grade of elementary school, I decided to try making my own stuffed animal using the sewing kit we used at school. Although it wasn't very well made, the staff praised me, saying, "That's really good." Encouraged by this, I diligently worked on making stuffed animals. With each attempt, I got better, and by high school, I was so involved that I joined the handicraft club. In my senior year of high school, I won a prize at a handicraft competition and chose a job related to handicrafts when I graduated. After various twists and turns, I am now at my current company. And I am amazed at how long I have continued here. I plan to continue living my life supported by the handicrafts that have helped me so far. However, recently, I have been troubled by a certain person. Her name is Debbie Miller. Debbie is a 50-year-old bank clerk who lives in a luxury condo opposite my house. If you ask whether I also live in a luxury residence, the answer is no. I live in an old apartment with a rent of $500, in a building over 30 years old. Originally, this area was mostly rice fields with only a few houses. But about 5 years ago, housing and apartments began to be built one after another. My apartment has existed long before these constructions. And it remains standing surrounded by taller buildings without being rebuilt. Some people might think I should move into the fancy condo in front of me. But I decided against it after considering it for a bit. After all, the rent is high, and I don't need the luxurious amenities of the condo. The condo has strong security, an observation deck with a night view, and a party room, and is staffed with a concierge 24 hours a day. However, I am not interested in parties or the view. Additionally, the landlord of my apartment is concerned about security and has installed surveillance cameras and changed all the locks to ones with higher security. There's no entrance hall in this apartment. But for someone like me who doesn't keep valuables at home, it's sufficient. I don't want to pay over $2,000 a month in rent just to live in a luxury condo. Thus, everyone has their own suitable lifestyle. Debbie seems to like being surrounded by luxury items, wearing rings and necklaces from high-end brands. When she sees me throwing out the trash, she boasts, "This is new. I bought it 2 months ago, but I'm already tired of it." At the same time, she looks down on me because of my ordinary clothes. "Aren't you embarrassed by that outfit? Should I give you some of my high-end brand items?" "Oh, actually, never mind. Just a week ago, she teased me like this, and it was really annoying. Moreover, she knows my apartment number. She probably saw me entering or leaving my apartment by chance. Because of this, she occasionally comes to my apartment and boasts. Hey, I ate luxurious French food today.
Ah.
It was delicious. It's frustrating when I just want to relax at home, and she ruins it with her pointless bragging. Moreover, she doesn't leave after just 5 or 10 minutes, but keeps talking for over 20 minutes. When I saw that ring, I couldn't help but scream.
Ah.
The ring of my destiny. Like, not a person of destiny but a ring of destiny. That's how it is in the world. In such a manner, she often speaks loudly and emotionally. Which is a nuisance to the neighborhood. Our apartment has thin walls, so if you raise your voice even a little, everyone can hear it. Excuse me, there are neighbors around. So could you please speak a bit softer? Also, it's already 8 p.m., and I'd like to eat dinner. Even when I ask her to be quieter, Debbie doesn't listen. I'm gracing you with my knowledge, and that's your attitude? Shall we talk about the necklace I'm wearing now? She continues without listening at all. The other day, my neighbor Robert Owen came over and said, "Hey, keep it down." Ms. Anderson is clearly bothered. Debbie, seeing the stern-looking Robert, got scared. "Eek, sorry." She screamed and ran away at full speed, and I was relieved. It's no big deal. We help each other out when there's trouble. But what's going on with her? Well, actually, I briefly explained about Debbie.
Ah.
The lady from the luxury condo. She's kind of famous, right? But why does she bother you so much? These days, people don't usually have such deep relationships with their neighbors. That's the thing. Robert's question was reasonable. It's rare for someone to get involved to this extent just because they think their neighbors seem poor. The situation has escalated because of past troubles I had with Debbie. About 6 months ago, I had business at a major bank branch and stopped by the counter. The bank clerk who attended to me was Debbie. "Hello." She greeted me, but I noticed her disdainful gaze. However, I hesitated to mention it to a bank clerk I was meeting for the first time, thinking it might just be my imagination, and proceeded to state my business. "Hello, I have an appointment to speak with the branch manager at 1 p.m. I was told to mention it at the counter to be shown to the reception room." I didn't think I said anything unusual, but Debbie suddenly became angry. "What? You're lying. Ms. Anderson has already arrived." "What?" Confused by being scolded like this, I was at a loss since I hadn't lied. I hurriedly checked my schedule, but there was no mistake in the date or time. "Could you please check again? I am supposed to have a meeting in the reception room at this time." Despite my request, Debbie still wouldn't listen. "I'm telling you. You're a fake Ms. Anderson, aren't you? Just admit the truth." "No, I am the real Michelle Anderson. Since I had important business, I couldn't just leave. I even showed my ID, but she accused it of being fake and wouldn't believe me." As I was wondering what to do, the branch manager, hearing the commotion, came running over and said, "I'm terribly sorry, Ms. Anderson. Please, this way to the reception room." That resolved the situation. Later, I learned from the branch manager that there was indeed another person named Anderson, who had a meeting with the manager from 12 p.m. that day. Debbie was aware of the other Ms. Anderson, but had completely forgotten about me. After my meeting, she did apologize, but her face was sulky. She didn't seem truly remorseful, so my dissatisfaction wasn't entirely resolved. However, I realized it was pointless to expect a heartfelt apology from someone who could get so angry with a stranger on a first meeting. I decided to let it go. A week later, as I was taking out the garbage in the morning, Debbie came running from the luxury condo across the street, her eyes gleaming with excitement. I remember my body freezing in fear. What's going on? I live in this condo. You live in that apartment over there, right? Turns out we're neighbors. Hearing this made me dizzy, sensing she was up to something. And then Debbie said something outrageous. It's your fault I became a laughingstock. What are you going to do about it? Excuse me? My fault. It was her misunderstanding that caused the issue, yet she was holding a grudge. I got scolded by the branch manager. And even customers said I was scary. It's all your fault. Debbie glared at me resentfully, looking almost like a vengeful spirit. Since then, it seemed I had become her enemy, and she would harass me whenever possible. Which was very troublesome. I thought about moving, but since Debbie only came around 2 or 3 times a month, considering the low rent, it seemed wasteful to move just because of her. Debbie also seemed to keep her actions just shy of something that would warrant reporting to the bank or forcing me to move. Since I've found such a good target, I'm going to enjoy tormenting you. She said this with a creepy grin. Some people might consider moving because of this. However, I had heard some rumors about Debbie and the condo. Robert, who knew all the details from me, said, "You've caught the eye of a troublesome person, but maybe just endure a little longer. Just wait and see." But troubles attack relentlessly. I had another errand at the bank branch, and unfortunately, Debbie was at the counter. I wanted to leave, but that wasn't an option. Debbie smirked unpleasantly but handed me a queue number, saying, "Please wait for your number to be called." The bank was very crowded, and it seemed it would take a while. Indeed, I ended up waiting for 5 hours. I worked on my tablet and even got permission to go shopping to pass the time. But it was an exceedingly long wait. When Debbie finally called me, she was still smirking, clearly having delayed my turn on purpose. However, confronting her directly would likely not result in an apology. And creating a scene at the counter would be too troublesome. Swallowing my frustration, I said, "I'm here to withdraw $15 million. It's a substantial amount, but I've informed you in advance, so please proceed." Despite the significant sum, Debbie looked down on me. "Go ahead, poor company, try it. You only have $300 in your bank account. All talk." Excuse me? $300? That couldn't be right. What was she talking about? "I'm sorry, but you must be mistaken again. I am indeed scheduled to withdraw $15 million today. Please check again." I asked, but Debbie wouldn't listen. "Stop making a fuss, you poor person. Go on, go home. Please wait. Could another bank clerk assist me?" Realizing that getting through to Debbie was futile, I sought help from another employee. However, Debbie insisted, "We only have new staff today. And the branch manager isn't here. I have to deal with this because you're talking nonsense about $15 million. Indeed, the other bank clerks, all young, looked on helplessly. "Don't interfere, you guys. This person is just pushing their mistake onto us. She's actually just a poor company CEO with only $300 in her account." Since Debbie, a senior clerk, spoke so assertively, no one dared to intervene. As I was wondering what to do, Debbie snapped at me. "Come on, don't just stand there, go home. I don't want to see a lying, poor woman like you trying to drive me away." Feeling the cold stares from those around me, I realized that staying here any longer wouldn't change the situation. Overwhelmed with frustration, I decided to leave, my whole body burning with rage. And then, I resolved to bring her down. The next day, after returning to my office from the meeting room during lunch break, I checked my smartphone, which I had accidentally left behind. To my surprise, there were over 30 missed calls from that morning, all from the bank. Believing it must be about yesterday's incident, I quickly called back. When I did, I heard Debbie's voice, completely contrite, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry about yesterday. I really need to apologize. Please, could you come to the bank?" Understood. I'll head there now. Fortunately, I had no afternoon appointments, so after a quick lunch, I went straight to the bank. There, I found a pale-faced Debbie and the branch manager waiting for me. "I am terribly sorry for yesterday. Please, come to the reception room." Led by the branch manager, we went to the reception room. As soon as I sat down, Debbie apologized deeply. "I am terribly sorry. I can't believe I made another mistake." "Again? What exactly did you mistake this time?" It turned out that it involved another Ms. Anderson, who apparently was the president of a struggling company on the brink of bankruptcy. That Ms. Anderson seemed like someone who might only have $300 to her name. "I confused you with her. Are you truly sorry?" That's very disrespectful to the other Anderson as well. When I pointedly commented, Debbie Miller and the branch manager both looked down in apology. Ms. Michelle Anderson is the president of a thriving plush toy company. As I've told you before. The branch manager scolded Debbie sternly. "Yes, I currently run a plush toy manufacturing company. After graduating from high school, I worked for a company where I created small items and plush toys for sale in novelty stores. Eventually, wanting to create original products that bring joy to people, I decided to start my own company. I chose plush toys because they were something I had been attached to since I was young. I hope that, like me back then, there are children out there who find comfort and happiness in these plush toys." The reason for the $15 million withdrawal was to transfer some funds to another bank and to rebuild a manufacturing plant, among other reasons. The day that triggered Debbie's resentment towards me involved a meeting about this very matter. Because a large sum of money was involved, I wanted to clarify and communicate the reasons for the withdrawal beforehand. Such a terrible mistake. How could you confuse them like that? Well, seeing you live in that old, run-down apartment, I just assumed you weren't making much money. Rather than offering a straightforward apology, Debbie continued to make inappropriate comments. "My company isn't that large, and I try to save money for the future. It's not good to judge people by their living situation." As I spoke with a mix of irritation and firmness, the branch manager apologized again. "I'm very sorry about Debbie's behavior. She will be terminated." "Yes, please forgive me." Debbie looked desperate. "Is it because of the mistakes you made this time and last time? Or is it because you were found harassing me near my home?" "What do you mean by harassing? Why bring that up?" It seems that Debbie was not aware of the extent of the situation. So I spoke out as a form of retaliation. The branch manager then admonished her, saying, "I don't even know how to begin apologizing. Stop bothering Ms. Anderson." "Yes. I won't bother you anymore, please forgive me." Seeing Debbie sweating profusely and utterly exhausted gave me a bit of satisfaction. By the way, the reason for her dismissal was her habitual negligence at work and her harassment of junior staff. It seems that her comments to the juniors yesterday about not overstepping were just her trying to be intimidating and bossy. My case was the final straw, and it seemed that her departure would be a relief for the bank as well. Later, she was formally fired. 1 week later, late at night, I returned home by taxi after work. From the condo across the street, a woman with a suitcase and a backpack was hurrying out. I could tell from a distance it was Debbie, even though she was wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night. It seemed she couldn't see well because of the sunglasses. And she took a spectacular tumble while descending the stairs near the entrance. Her suitcase rolled down with her, creating a comical scene. And I couldn't help but chuckle softly. The night was quiet, so even a slight sound carried far. It seems Debbie noticed me because she took off her sunglasses and approached me. "Hey, what are you laughing at?" "Sorry, it was just funny seeing you fall." When I told her the truth, Debbie's face turned red. "Don't laugh at someone's misfortune. Go home instead of loitering around late at night." I was working late, it couldn't be helped. "Where are you going with all that luggage and sunglasses at this time?" After pressing her, Debbie struggled to come up with an excuse. Just a little trip." Your eyes are darting all over. There's no public transport running at this time of night. It feels more like you're fleeing than traveling. It's not a night flight, it's just moving. Although she denied it, moving at nearly 3 a.m. is highly unusual. You must have something to hide if you don't want to be seen leaving. How can you read my mind so well? Although Debbie was shocked, it was something anyone could guess. Could it be that you had a falling out with your husband and he kicked you out? Oh my. How did you know? This is like a horror story. Shocked, Debbie sat down weakly, but this was actually not a big deal. You've had your quarrels with your husband from time to time, haven't you? I've seen you shouting near the entrance many times. Indeed, living across the street, I inevitably end up seeing the residents of the condo. Debbie and her husband would occasionally go out, and I've overheard them yelling, "Kevin, you earn the money, so it's fine. And no matter how much I earn, we can't save because you spend it all. You speak loudly. Sometimes, I can even hear you from my apartment. I've never spoken to your husband, yet I know his name is Kevin." As I spoke matter-of-factly, Debbie bowed her head in embarrassment. "Oh no. You heard those awful scenes. That's why I thought you might eventually divorce and move out. Plus, people tend to leave this condo every 2 to 3 years. Really? Is it because it's haunted or something?" "Oh, it must be. That explains why misfortune keeps befalling me. It's the work of spirits." She let her imagination run wild, but that wasn't the case. The rent there is high, right? Many people can't maintain that lifestyle and end up moving out. The luxury condo is, of course, aimed at the wealthy. Temporary investors and company presidents live there. But many find it hard to continue paying the rent, which can be thousands of dollars, and leave within 2 to 3 years. Is that so? But I could have lived there normally if it weren't for the divorce, since I have the financial means. Debbie still tried to maintain her pride, but I looked at her skeptically. Really? Weren't you struggling quite a bit? What basis do you have for saying that? It's not good to make such assumptions. Debbie was visibly sweating as she frantically objected. There are reasons for my assumption. You always wear high-end goods, which suggests you spend a lot. A bank clerk's salary surely can't cover all that, can it? You know the prices of luxury goods. She was as surprised as if she had seen a new species. I work with wealthy people all the time. Besides, these days anyone can look up the prices of luxury goods online. Right. Watching Debbie falter, I continued. If you're spending that much, it's clear you don't have money. I don't know what your husband does, but he must earn well. You took advantage of that and spent freely, which is probably why he kicked you out. You see through everything. Debbie was completely intimidated, but it was almost as if she had spilled the beans herself. After all, I had seen her and Kevin arguing flamboyantly in front of the entrance before. What do you mean he told me to get out? I can't take it anymore with a wife who spends money like water without thinking about the future. What do you think I earn money for? I had heard similar conversations occasionally, so it was easy to guess that money was the reason she was kicked out. Explaining this left Debbie completely dejected. In an era when we don't interact with neighbors, it's shocking how much you know. I live across the street, so I notice things if something happens. As I bluntly stated this, Debbie covered her face with her hands and didn't move. Oh, how embarrassing. It's like the walls have ears. In your case, it goes beyond the walls and doors. It comes through them because it's audible even when I'm not trying to listen. If you talk that loudly, of course, I'm going to hear. I pressed on mercilessly. And Debbie's face grew even more embarrassed as she tried to hide behind her suitcase. Oh, I didn't want anyone to know I was kicked out for spending too much. So I tried to leave quietly. Having everything come to light like this is the worst. It looks like the one person you didn't want to find out knows everything. As I cut to the point, Debbie shrank even more, looking uncomfortable. Exactly. You never know what might happen in life. You don't need to go into life philosophies. But if you're moving out, maybe you should leave quickly. People passing by have been looking over occasionally. In fact, a man behind us was looking at us worriedly. In the middle of the night, two women facing each other, with one trying to hide behind a suitcase, would certainly be a cause for concern. If you're okay, I called out, and he walked away but still looked puzzled. Debbie watched this with a look of despair. Why are people out at this time of night? This area has become quite a residential area. Some people work late and come home at night. As I explained what should have been obvious, Debbie said, I can't stay here anymore, and dashed into the darkness. She was loud and troublesome, but if her departure meant peace, I was grateful. I then returned to my apartment. However, a month later, I noticed someone loitering in front of the luxury condo. As soon as the figure spotted me, it quickly approached. Isn't that Debbie? Indeed, it was Debbie, who was supposed to have left. I had gone for a walk because the weather was nice, and I was returning home feeling refreshed. But her appearance spoiled that. Actually, I left this condo, but I haven't found a new job. So I thought I'd ask my husband to take care of me again, and that's why I came here. So you're still relying on your husband? Well, good luck with convincing him. I sighed in frustration and tried to walk away. But Debbie quickly stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Actually, my attempt to persuade failed. I was wandering around wondering what to do when I bumped into you. Is that so? There's nothing I can do, so please move aside. Thinking I didn't want to be involved in any trouble, I slipped past her and ran towards the entrance of my apartment. However, Debbie persistently stood in my way. Wait. I just need a little help. Hearing that, I couldn't believe my ears. Have you forgotten what happened between us? Reflect on your own actions. I know it's a lot to ask. I'm just trying my luck on the off chance. Why do you think there's even a chance? I have no intention of helping you. As I spoke coldly, I tried to enter my room quickly, but Debbie started crying. I'm swallowing my pride here. And you still don't want to help. It's like you've lost your humanity. Are you saying this is my fault? Just do whatever you want. While she accused me of losing my humanity, it was clear she hadn't reflected at all, making it a waste of time to deal with her. Frustrated, I pushed past Debbie and went up the stairs. Wait. Are you just going to abandon me? Debbie shouted and followed me, but at that moment, Robert burst out of his room. Enough. How many times do I have to say it? As if on cue, two other residents came out. I was sleeping, and you woke me up. Aren't you the one who used to make noise? I heard from Michelle that you had moved out. Why are you back? Faced with such comments, Debbie seemed to freeze in shock. Why would you say that all of a sudden? No excuses. We've all been troubled by your loud voice. We have every right to complain. Seeing Robert's furious face, Debbie looked frightened. Well, yes. But it's good to have friendly neighbors. This apartment is quite old, with some residents living here for over 10 years. The neighbors have long-standing relationships, which is rare nowadays. As I explained in a cold, detached tone. Robert and two other residents stepped closer to Debbie and said in a deep, resounding voice, "Leave." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Debbie yelped, "Eek. I'm sorry," and fled. Don't ever come back. I shouted at her, retreating back. Thanks to the neighborhood's solidarity, Debbie no longer appeared around the apartment. I didn't know what became of Debbie afterward until one day, when I was on a business trip. I went to a diner for lunch and saw her working there as an employee. Startled by seeing me, she screamed, "What? Why are you here?" Of course, she was scolded by the male manager. But her composure was completely off. She dropped a glass of water, overturned a salad, and kept making mistakes. "I'm so sorry." Although Debbie kept apologizing apologetically, the manager scolded her. "You're too incompetent at work. You're fired." It seemed unlikely that Debbie's life would brighten from there. I couldn't help feeling that. Meanwhile, I continue to run my company successfully. Recently released plush toys have sold well. And I'm grateful that we've moved into mass production. Messages of thanks from children across the country keep coming, making every day rewarding. Additionally, I remain on good terms with the other apartment residents. And we often express our relief at how peaceful things have become. Being able to live a normal, everyday life feels truly fulfilling and brings me great happiness. While Debbie was truly troublesome, she taught me that ordinary days are precious. I'm grateful for my ideal home and want to live appreciating it. With these thoughts, I continue to work hard every day.